Hello everyone, this is Tarsha and welcome to the We Made This online sewing class. Our first project will be the wine bag. You will be making a wine bag that looks just like this one here. So there are a few things that you will need to do before we begin to make sure that you're prepared. Be sure that you have your pattern, your fabric, your ribbon, a pen or a pencil, scissors, and a ruler or measuring tape. Most of these things have already been given to you by us. And also, one more thing before you get started, check your sewing machine and make sure that there is thread in your bobbin, enough thread for this project. And also check the stitch length. We want to make sure that our stitch length is a straight stitch, first of all, a straight stitch, and set it at 3 on your sewing machine. And as always, as you've learned in class, always begin every stitch with a lock stitch and the end every stitch with a lock stitch. So a lock stitch at the beginning and a lock stitch at the end of every stitch. So once you've checked your machine and gotten all of your materials together, we're ready to begin. Good luck and have fun. Begin by folding your fabric in half and then placing your pattern on top of your fabric, making sure that the fold is lined with the side of the pattern that says fold here. Trace out the shape of your pattern with your pencil or pen, and then pin the two pieces of fabric together before you begin to cut. This makes sure that your fabric does not come unfolded as you cut it out. And then cut along the lines that you've just drawn. Next, we're going to mark on the fabric where our ribbon will be placed. So turn your fabric over on the right side and use your pattern to mark the spot where your ribbon will be sewn. And then once you've marked that spot, you will take your fabric to be ironed. And as you see here, Tintin is showing us where that ribbon is going to be. So it's going to be sewn 4.5 inches from the top of the fabric. And then the other stitch is going to be 2.5 inches below the first one. You will have a 3-inch piece of ribbon to sew onto your fabric. So let's first press the fabric, making sure we get all the wrinkles out before we begin to sew. And then make sure that you're holding your fabric with the top up, because we're going to make a fold along the top of the fabric. So this will be the short end of your fabric. Make a 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch fold and iron. And then again, fold it over and iron again. So 2 folds, 3/8 inch wide. And then just check one more time to make sure your fabric is nice and wrinkle free. Now we're going to sew a straight stitch along that edge that we just folded. Make sure you line your needle at the inside fold. Begin with a lock stitch and sew a straight stitch all the way across the top fold of your bag. And of course, end your row of stitches with another lock stitch. Next, we're going to sew a zigzag stitch all the way around the 3 edges that are not folded. So you will need to change your sewing machine stitch width that's going across. Change that to 3, and also change your stitch style from straight stitch to zigzag stitch. So we want to use a zigzag stitch set at 3 wide. Beginning at the top of your bag at the fold, give yourself about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, 1/4 to 1/2 inch seam allowance. Begin with a back stitch and sew your zigzag stitch all the way around those 3 edges. If you have a machine with an overlock stitch, you could use this as well. We just want to make sure that there is no fraying of the fabric. So we do this to prevent the fraying. After you've completed your zigzag stitch, cut any loose threads and then be sure to change your machine back to a straight stitch. We won't be using the zigzag stitch anymore. All right, so now we want to find that mark that we made earlier on the fabric. That's where we will place the ribbon. So again, make sure that your ribbon is 3 inches long. And then we want to fold each end of the ribbon down and placing that in the center of that mark we made. And make sure you place it vertically, that's up and down, pinning it in place. Now you will sew that ribbon onto your fabric. Sew each end of the ribbon crosswise, so that's from side to side. Go back and forth over your stitch about 5 times because we want to make sure that it's nice and secure. So do this on both the bottom and the top of your ribbon.
How many times? 5.
Now remove your fabric from the machine and cut off any loose threads. Now we're going to fold the fabric lengthwise, making sure that the fabric is the wrong side facing out if you have a 2-sided fabric. And beginning at the top of the fabric that's next to the fold, You're going to sew along the open side. Making sure that the sides of your fabric lie flat and don't curl up. Sew a straight stitch down the side of your bag. Making sure to check your edges as you go along. And stop sewing about 1 centimeter away from the bottom of the bag. So we're not going to sew all the way to the edge.
In the corner.
Stop your needle 1 centimeter away, making sure your needle is down. Lift your foot, turn your material 90 degrees and continue sewing again. All the way to the edge. Now you're going to take one of the bottom corners of your bag after you've cut away all of the loose threads. And we're going to make a triangle shaped fold, just as you see here. So flatten the fold into a triangle shape. And then we want to open the seams along that fold. And then take your ruler and we want to make a mark 1 inch away from the end of that seam. So make a mark 1 inch down and then draw a line across at that point. Pin the sides of your seam down to keep them in place. And then do the same thing in the other corner. Make your triangle fold. Open your seam. Measure 1 inch down from the edge of the seam. Make a mark and then draw a line across that mark. Your line should measure about 2 inches. Now we're going to sew along the line that we just made. Beginning with the lock stitch and again ending with another lock stitch. Again, repeat on the other side. Remove your pins and cut any loose threads, and then turn your bag inside out, the right way. And make sure that your corners are nice and creased and smooth. And now you're done with the sewing part of this project. Your wine bag is complete. Next, we're going to measure a long piece of ribbon, about 33 inches. This is the ribbon we will use to tie around the bag. Make sure that you feed it through the loop we just sewed onto the bag and tie it on the other side. And that's it. You finished your wine bag.
Hold it up so we can see you with it.
Congratulations. And that's it. Wasn't it fun? So now you have a beautiful wine bag. If you have any questions while you're working on the project, please feel free to contact either myself or Tintin with your questions. But we will meet together on Zoom to discuss our projects and to share what we've made. So look for a link to our Zoom meeting soon. But like I said, if you have any questions, please give me a call or a text. Thank you so much.